Hey everyone, it's Kieran here, coming back to YouTube for the first time in about fucking 10 years. Fuck, trying something different now. I just realised in the new year that I kind of used to enjoy making videos about anything and everything, and I kind of missed it a bit, so I've got a new camera and I'm back. So today we're going to be talking about tech tips for new bands, local bands, tech tips. This isn't something that I really see talked about. It's more about how to make your band more successful by like paying for a bit of Facebook advertisement or moving around on stage, but I think it's really important and neglected a lot in local bands that I've seen while I'm playing in my local band. People don't seem to think about these bits and bobs, which I think is important to share. Number one would be please, for the love of God, tune your instruments and check the tuning in the show. But if it's even a thing, put it in your set list. Check tuning in between songs, because it's something that's very neglected still, and you think people would know to tune their instruments. Please fucking tune. That's literally like fundamentals, man. Tune your fucking guitars. My number two tip would be spend time in your rehearsal room. Set it out like a stage almost, so you've got the drums in the middle, and then you've got the bass and the guitar, and then the guitar on the other side, and stand in front of that all and play with your EQs, play with your levels, and make your amps that you've got sound good on their own without a sound man. Local sound engineers can be a bit sketchy. Some of them are really good. I've definitely had some amazing local sound engineers in venues before, but then you go to other places and you might get a grumpy old man who doesn't like the style of music you're playing and just doesn't give a shit. But that's when you really have to, the main goodness of the sound is coming from your own equipment. So it doesn't matter what you've got. I think even if you've got the most basic of equipment, you could spend maybe an hour with your band just trying to make things sound good, so the two guitars don't sound like one sounds good and the other one sounds wank. So then if one guy cuts out, or if there's a part in your song where you're switching parts, it doesn't sound like shit. I've played with bands before where you one side obviously spends a bit more time dialing in their tone, and the other person is maybe a bit more of a plug-in and play, which is fair enough, because beginners, you like that when you're a beginner. You plug in the amp and you go, meh, sounds okay. But I think the other guy probably should be helping that guy to make his tone sound better. But spend some time sorting out your tones, make your band sound good on its own. Sometimes things aren't mic'd up. You're not in a venue with has room for mics. You're in a tiny little like basement room, and nothing's mic'd up apart from maybe the singer. And if you sound shit, people aren't going to like your band. You might be the most amazing songwriters ever, but if your instruments sound like shit and they're out of tune, people are going to like just like, these are shit. They've got the worst sounding equipment ever. Fucking sound awful. They sound awful. They're fucking terrible. And you could be playing amazingly, but no one can hear it because your guitar tones and your bass tones and your fucking other tones are all muddied together and it just sounds like a mess. Number three, try and create a semi-uniform stage look. You don't all have to be dressed exactly, not all in black. Look like a band. I think that's more of a personal thing for me, really. I like it when a band looks like a band, not just like a bunch of like a pub band. I think especially if you want to be successful, you've got to dress like bands. Like look at other bands, see how they dress like them. They all kind of have some sort of like commonality between all the members of the band. Number four is probably one that pertains a bit more to your financial situation. If you've got band money, apart from recording, if you're looking to put money into your live show, I would invest in some sort of in-ear monitoring setup or click track setup for your drummer. Now that does involve a little bit of spend. I think our system that we use isn't anything fancy. I'll probably do a separate video on that, but it's basically based off another guy's YouTube video. So I'll link that video and you can go and watch his video rather than me repeat what he's saying and rip him off. And literally we just have a Roland sample pad thing. It doesn't have to be Roland, it could be an iPad. Some people just use an old iPad, like I've got an old iPad here. We used to use an old iPad. This is like an old, I don't even know, it's still got the old connector on the bottom. We used to use one of these, uploaded tracks into that, and then that'd just play an intro track at first and then an intro track in the next song. You can probably get an old iPad for like fuck all from CEX. This is an iPad stand thing that goes on a mic stand. Boom, stick that on, Cable comes out of here. It's a 3.5mm jack into two normal jacks. I don't know what the fucking size is. 2 normal jacks, and then we just simply put that into a DI box, like a cheapest chips DI box. That's probably going to cost you, if you've already got an iPad or a tablet, less than 100 quid. Download an app, SoundQ app, use that, boom, there you go. You've then got intro tracks. If you want to use click tracks, things get a little bit more complicated. Then you have to start using, I think you can use an iPad for that, but then you have to have 2 separate tracks, or on the same track, left and right channel. This is probably something for another day. Our in-ear system that currently is only used by the drummer, and at the moment we only use it for just for click tracks and the odd sample thing now and again. But not all our songs are clicked, because not every song needs a click. Some songs feel better without a click. People think they cost thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, and they do if you want a really fancy nice one, which I've always wanted and still yet have, because I don't have shit tons of money. Our one probably costs £200 to build, actual thing that the channels go into and the channels come out of to go to the front of the house. We have a Roland SPD SX, which a lot of this stuff was bought on Facebook Marketplace for way cheaper than brand new. So I would definitely recommend looking at Facebook Marketplace. Again, I'll link that guy's video for tips on, or basically the setup that we use, pretty much identical. It's a little bit different, our specific setup. But number 5, make your load-ins and load-outs as efficient as possible. Some people may be turning up in multiple vehicles, some people may be turning up with their mum or dad. But in terms of gear, because this is about technical stuff, I know I've chucked in a few things that aren't so technical. In terms of gear, keep as much stuff plugged in as you can, especially if you have a pedal board. Keep it all plugged in. On my pedal board, which may appear in another video, I keep my guitar cable in there, and then pretty much when I rock up to gigs, I pedal board, amp, whatever. Take the pedal board out of the box, put it on the ground, guitar cable's ready to go, run the cable to the amp, plug it in, power supply to power the board, done. I'm not fiddling around trying to find a cable that's in a different bag somewhere, and especially when you're doing like small gigs, time can be very, very, very tight, as probably a lot of you already know. You've got 15-minute changeovers, but then you're fighting with the other band who's got a drummer who's bought a whole rack, and he's trying to take a rack off stage, even though it was an opening band, he thought he'd bring a whole rack. Fair enough, bring your rack, whatever. But get some help taking it off, and then you're left with like 5-10 minutes, set everything up, plug in, boom, done. Leaving things plugged in definitely saves a lot of time. We leave a lot of stuff plugged in on our in-ears. I leave my pedal board plugged in, I think everyone else. Drummer obviously sets up his stands beforehand. First thing he does before he even fucking had a drink or sat down or pissed, the drummer's already set up his stands in my band, so he's ready to go, because I think he's well versed in these things. If you can, I'd say if you've got a bit of time and space beforehand, and there's somewhere where you can do this, I try and set up as much stuff as you can off stage. Now, for a lot of people, this might seem very obvious because you've been playing gigs, but for people who are very new to doing live music, I think this is important for them to know, because you don't necessarily think of this the first time. You're like, oh, I'll just set everything up on stage, it'll be fine, I'll have plenty of time. But no, yeah, set things up off stage if you can. Leave things plugged in if you can. Like, if you haven't got the cases or the room, fair enough, then maybe you need to set things up off stage. It's like vice versa. If you've got things already plugged in, maybe you don't need to set up off stage. 6, this is another obvious one, I think. Invest in spare everything. Absolutely everything. Apart from maybe amps. We're just playing in 100 cap venues in the city down the road or the pub. You don't need spare amps, you don't need a rack of guitars. At least have one spare guitar between both your guitarists. We do that in my band, and it's actually come in handy. Luckily, we've never both broke a string at the same time or had issues at the same time. But on one of our recent gigs last year, the guitarist broke a string. He knew where the spare guitar was. It's quite funny actually, because I remember telling him just before we went on stage, I was like, spare guitar is just over there if you need it. And he was like, okay. And then I must have cursed it or something, because next thing you know, I look over and he's going for the spare guitar. Yeah, spare guitars, spare cables. Cables are one of them things that will just fucking break and break and break, and you'll never know when it's going to break. It will just break, and it can properly fuck you in the arse, especially if you're in the middle of playing a show. Trying to fault diagnose cables can be a bit of a nightmare. If you haven't got a spare cable, normally the first thing I go to, if I'm not seeing a signal light on my amp, is cable. I just pull the cable, or I got a wireless, so if I have a problem with the signal going into my amp, I've got my pedal board set up in a way that I just literally pick up a cable, plug in the cable, boom, I've got sound again. And then if there's still no sound, I know it's a problem with the cables in the pedal board. I'll take out the cable from the wireless and plug it directly into the amp, and then I'll just fuck the pedal board. I haven't got time to fucking around. I'm only playing for half an hour. Like, it's just stuff like that. Having fallbacks and like fail safes and spare cables is really handy, and just like not fucking around, if you get my gist. Maybe that's tip number 7. Don't fuck around if you've got an issue with the pedal board. It also depends on the music really that you're playing, but if the pedal board isn't essential, or it's really giving you a ball, like maybe you've just spent like 30 seconds trying to diagnose it, or a minute, and I mean that's a lot of time in your 20-minute set. Just plug the cable out, take the cable, put it straight into your amp, forget about your pedal board, just get around the issues that you probably spend more time and lose more time on your set fiddling around, changing out patch cables or poking shit, and you'll just end up losing time or overrunning, which is worse. The worst thing in the world is overrunning, because then the band that are on next hate you because you've just ran into their set time. So, and then you'll probably get a bad name. Spare cables, one spare guitar between 2 guitarists is plenty for a small band level. Be quick, be efficient. Pedal board problems, unplug straight into the amp. I know it sounds mean because you might think, but I need my pedal board for my set. No one cares, because no one knows any of your songs. No one's going to know if you haven't put a fucking reverb. No one knows any of your songs. Sounds horrible. Number 7, I think we're on now. This is probably the last one, to be fair. If you can, and if you have someone in the crowd that can, try and record your whole set. It's always a help. We used to record every gig with a GoPro, but then it became a little bit of a nightmare with the GoPro breaking or stuff like that. The GoPro I've got is fucking crap. It doesn't matter where it is. We used to either put it like behind the drummer, next to the drummer, just so you can hear and kind of see what's going on, or if you've got someone in the front of the crowd that doesn't mind wasting all their phone battery and memory, or you give them your phone, just get them to they can still watch, just fucking hold it like here and just film the set. Like, it's just good to have, mainly for purposes of like improving your stage presence, which isn't a technical thing, so I'm not going to talk about stage presence. Improving maybe like your sound, how you sound on stage, or where the bass was too high or the bass sounded too clicky. We've definitely had basses too clicky gigs where we watch videos back and all you can hear is clang 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 clang. Sounds like fucking Korn on steroids, Korn bass on steroids with the fucking clink 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 clink. Yeah, record your sets if you can. Or even clips. Say you've got a new song that you've worked on, record a clip of that song, get everyone around, or we usually do it at the end of the gig. At first there's just two of us in the car then, so just two of us watch the clips and kind of like think of things that could have been improved and stuff like that. And then when we go to the next band rehearsal, everyone watches the clip and then we all think of things and we say the things that we thought of before. Yeah, that's 7 tech tips to improve your performances and local band. This isn't for people that are semi-successful. This is no way for people that are semi-successful. And this is for people that are like a similar level to my band, Running with Knives, or bands smaller maybe that need a bit of help. I mean, we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now as a band, and as a collective between us, we've probably got probably more than 20 years experience within gigs and band stuff. So this also isn't just from my personal experiences, things I've heard from other guys in the band who've been doing this longer than me. So yeah, it's always quite handy. We're not famous, we're not a big band, but from my little band to your little band, I give you this gift. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to say the obligatory bullshit shit. Like and subscribe. If you liked it, just drop it a like, or subscribe if you want. I'm going to try and do more band and music sort of stuff, because I think that's stuff I can chat shit about for ages. No more YouTube poops, sorry everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Don't know when that'll be. Don't really have time for a regular upload schedule at the minute, but maybe I'll try once a week or once every 2 weeks. We'll see. Depends on how many ideas I come up with. Yeah, cheers guys.